I never expected my own family to steal my spotlight, yet there I was, standing in the dining room doorway, my portfolio slipping from my fingers and scattering economic reports across my mother's polished hardwood floor. The sound of papers hitting the ground barely registered as I stared at the bizarre tableau before me. And then, I'll say, before my brilliant sister shares her economic insights, let me warm up the crowd with a few words about our family's charitable history. Bianca practiced, her voice projecting to an imaginary audience. She stood beside the mahogany china cabinet, one hand gesturing gracefully while Mother nodded with approval from her seat at the table. "Perfect tone, darling," Mother said. "Not too formal, but establishes the proper context." They'd been so engrossed in their rehearsal, they hadn't noticed me arrive early for our celebratory dinner. The dinner supposedly planned to honor my invitation as keynote speaker at next month's International Aid Foundation Gala. Mother spotted me first. Her smile faltered for just a second before brightening with practiced warmth. "Odette, you're early." Bianca turned, her expression shifting from surprise to something resembling pity. "Oh, don't look so shocked, you'll freeze up there without help." My chest tightened as a memory surfaced with painful clarity. I was 12, sitting at the piano during the Christmas recital, fingers poised over the keys for my solo. Then suddenly Bianca appeared beside me, nervously clutching her violin. "Honey, Bianca will join you," Mom had announced to the audience. They always perform better together. I'd spent weeks perfecting that piece alone. Bianca has the charm, Odette has the brains, they need each other, Dad would say whenever I achieved something academically. Meanwhile, Bianca's social popularity always earned standalone praise. My scholarship announcement dinner became about Bianca's new role in the student council. My graduate school acceptance was overshadowed by Bianca's engagement party. I knelt to gather my scattered papers, my fingers trembling as I collected economic projections I'd spent months researching. The familiar knot of disappointment twisted in my stomach, but something else stirred beneath it, something hot and unfamiliar. "This is my invitation," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "The organizers specifically asked for me alone." Mother's smile tightened. She exchanged a quick glance with Bianca before standing to help set the table. "Don't be selfish, dear. Bianca can help warm up the crowd." "It's not about being selfish." I stacked my papers, noticing with satisfaction that my hands had stopped shaking. "It's about respecting that I was chosen for my expertise." "But you get so nervous during presentations," Bianca said, reaching for a wine glass. "Remember that economics conference last year? You practically whispered your findings." I straightened to my full height, clutching my portfolio against my chest like armor. "I've been working with a speaking coach. I don't need an introduction." The front door opened and closed. Dad appeared in the doorway, briefcase in one hand, bottle of champagne in the other. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was brutal. Is everyone ready to celebrate our keynote speaker?" "We're discussing the presentation format," Mother said carefully. "Bianca has offered to introduce Odette at the gala." "Excellent idea." Dad set down his briefcase and moved to the bar cart. "It's just a short introduction, Odette. Takes the pressure off." I watched them, the three of them standing together on one side of the room, me alone on the other. The realization hit me like a physical blow. If I refused their help, I risked fracturing family peace. If I accepted it, I surrendered yet another achievement to their narrative, that I couldn't succeed without Bianca's social polish. My throat tightened as the truth crystallized. They had never truly seen me, only their perception of my inadequacies. Not my research that had attracted international attention. Not my ability to explain complex economic principles that had earned me this invitation. They saw only what I had been at 12, the quiet girl who needed her sister to complete her. I squared my shoulders. "No introductions. This is my presentation. Mine alone." The air in the room shifted. This wasn't our usual script, and for once, I didn't care. 2 days later, the subject line glared back at me from my laptop screen. URI, International Aid Foundation Gala, Contingency Plan. My stomach clenched as I clicked on the email, already knowing what I'd find but hoping desperately to be wrong. "Dear Miss Bennett," Bianca had written to the event organizer. "While my sister is certainly qualified to discuss economic theory, she sometimes struggles with public speaking. I'd be happy to step in if she gets nervous or runs short on material. Our parents agree this arrangement would benefit everyone involved." The room tilted sideways. I gripped the edge of my desk, dizzy with disbelief. This wasn't just passive acceptance of our parents' favoritism, this was active sabotage. Bianca had gone behind my back to undermine me directly with the event organizers. What hit harder was seeing my parents copied on the email. Their enthusiastic response sat just below. "Eleanor, we think this is an excellent suggestion. Odette has brilliant ideas but has always benefited from Bianca's social polish. We're so proud of both our girls working together." My hands trembled as I scrolled through my inbox, searching for other instances. There they were, a trail of digital betrayal, stretching back months. An email to the Economic Policy Institute, where I'd been invited to speak. "I understand. My sister will be presenting research findings. I'd like to discuss how I might contribute." Another to my University Alumni Association regarding a distinguished graduate panel. Each time, Bianca had positioned herself as my necessary complement. "Aunt Margaret is coming tomorrow," Mother chirped over the phone that evening. "She's attending the gala and wanted to have lunch with us beforehand." The following day, I arrived at my parents' house to find everyone already seated around the dining table. Not surprisingly, my father and mother occupied the head positions, with Bianca placed prominently beside them. I slid into the only remaining chair at the far end, feeling the physical distance mirror my emotional isolation. "I've been looking forward to seeing you present at the gala," Aunt Margaret said, smiling warmly at me across the table. Before I could respond, Bianca set down her water glass with a delicate clink. "I've got the most gorgeous dress being made for our big night. Midnight blue silk, it'll photograph beautifully for the foundation's website." "Our big night?" I repeated, my voice surprisingly steady. Mother patted Bianca's hand. "I've already told the Hendersons and the Blackwells that Bianca will be introducing you. They're so looking forward to seeing both Marshall girls on stage." "I never agreed to that," I said, gripping my napkin under the table. Father cleared his throat. "I mentioned to Eleanor that Bianca could fill in if your speech runs short. The foundation needs to maintain donor interest throughout the presentation." My fork clattered against my plate. "You did what?" I caught Aunt Margaret watching me, her eyes narrowing slightly as she observed my family's casual dismantling of my achievement. The stakes suddenly crystallized in my mind. This wasn't just about one speech. The International Aid Foundation Gala would be attended by economic leaders from across the globe, people whose connections could significantly advance my career. If I allowed my family to diminish my role yet again, I wouldn't just lose this opportunity, I'd reinforce the narrative that had defined me since childhood. Odette the supporter, never the star. Despite years of professional success, my published research, my position at the think tank, the very expertise that had prompted this invitation, I felt doubt creeping in. Maybe I would freeze on stage. Maybe my presentation was too dry, too academic. The familiar weight of insecurity pressed against my chest. "This will continue forever if you don't stop it now," a small voice whispered inside me. "Odette, we invested a lot in your education," Father said, mistaking my silence for acquiescence. "Now it's time to be a team player. The family has always supported you." The lunch dragged on, with Bianca dominating the conversation with details about her dress, her planned remarks, even suggestions for how I should style my hair. I sat quietly, picking at my food, feeling increasingly invisible in my own story. As everyone moved to the living room for coffee, Aunt Margaret held back, touching my arm lightly. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice low but firm. "I've watched this happen for 30 years, first with your mother and me, now with you and Bianca. It's time you stood up for yourself." Her words lingered as I drove home that evening, my thoughts churning with painful clarity. The question that had haunted me throughout my life now demanded an answer. Should I fight for my moment even if it meant potentially damaging these lifelong relationships, or find a way to compromise without completely surrendering my spotlight? The email from Bianca still sat open on my laptop when I arrived home, her words no longer shocking but illuminating, showing me exactly what I was up against and what I stood to lose if I remained silent. Monday morning brings an ambush I should have anticipated. My phone buzzes with notifications as I step into the elevator at work. Bianca's latest Instagram post shows her beaming at the camera, shopping for the perfect outfit to help my brilliant but shy sister at her big charity event. Proud sister, family support. Family support. My stomach twists as I scan the comments. 37 likes already, including from 3 of my colleagues. Dr. Marshall. Karen from accounting waves as I enter the break room. "Your sister seems so excited about introducing you at the gala. Is public speaking not your thing?" I force a smile. Actually, I'm the keynote speaker. Bianca isn't officially part of the program. Oh, Karen's eyebrows lift. I just assumed since she mentioned helping you. That's what sisters do, I guess. By lunchtime, whispers follow me down the hallway. I catch fragments as I pass the conference room, through family connections probably, and, as sister knows everyone in charity circles. The final blow lands at 3 o'clock. North. My office phone rings. Odette, could you stop by? My boss, Director Williams, sounds strangely formal. Something's come up regarding the International Aid Foundation event. In his office, he gestures to the chair across from his desk. Your mother called this morning. The words hit like ice water. My mother called you? She mentioned your sister might be available to represent the family at future events. He studies my face. I wasn't aware this was a family affair. The invitation specifically requested you for your economic expertise. It's not a family affair, I say, heat climbing my neck. My research on sustainable development funding is why they invited me. My family has their own interpretation. That evening, I find my apartment door unlocked. Bianca's perfume lingers in the air. Just dropping off some outfit options. She calls from my bedroom. You left the spare key in the same hiding spot since college. I follow her voice to find my presentation materials spread across my bed. The carefully organized stack of notes and graphs now reshuffled into a different order. I looked through your presentation. Bianca says, holding up a page marked with her looping handwriting. I highlighted the parts you should emphasize and added some transitions to make it more audience-friendly. My throat tightens. You changed my presentation without asking? Just little tweaks. She waves dismissively. You always get so technical. Regular people tune out. After she leaves, I spend hours reconstructing my original organization, second-guessing every section. Did this chart come before or after the funding projection? Was this statistic meant for the introduction or the conclusion? That night, sleep evades me. I stare at my ceiling, Bianca's voice echoing. You'll freeze up without help. What if she's right? What if I do freeze? What if my research isn't enough without her social polish? The pattern continues for days. I practice my speech during lunch breaks in empty conference rooms, my voice bouncing off blank walls. Economic sustainability requires structural reform, I repeat, trying to sound authoritative. But doubt creeps in with every rehearsal. I hear my father's voice. Bianca has the charm, Odette has the brains. 20 years of conditioning doesn't dissolve overnight. What if I need her help? What if I've always needed it? Thursday brings an unexpected respite. My phone rings with an unfamiliar number. Dr. Marshall? This is Eleanor Bennett from the International Aid Foundation. I brace myself for cancellation. Yes, hello. I'm confirming final details for next week. She says, I want to reiterate how thrilled we are to have you. Your economic research on sustainable development is exactly what our donors need to hear. We're so fortunate to have you as our keynote. Her words wash over me like cool water on a burn. I insist they change the rules so that only authorized personnel can step up on the stage. She notes it and tells me to wait for the official email as an approval. 3 days before the gala, I arrive at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. Bianca stands in the living room, modeling a stunning emerald gown. Perfect for the stage lights? Mother says, adjusting the neckline. We've arranged for you both to arrive together. Bianca will handle the red carpet photos. Something inside me shifts. Not the familiar knot of resignation, but something harder, steadier. No. The word emerges clearly, surprising even me. Mother's hands freeze on Bianca's dress. Excuse me? This is my professional achievement, not a family talent show. I remain seated, but my voice carries unexpected authority. Father sets down his newspaper. You've always been a team, why change now? Because I'm not a supporting character in my own life anymore. I stand, suddenly aware of my full height. I've earned this invitation through years of research and expertise, not charm, not connections, my work. The silence that follows feels like the first honest moment we've shared in years. Later that evening, my phone chimes with a text from Aunt Margaret. I'd be honored to accompany you to the gala, just us. Minutes later, an email arrives from Eleanor Bennett. We've noted your request. Only authorized speakers will have stage access. The contrast between these responses and my family's stunned silence speaks volumes. My supporters respect boundaries. My family pretends they don't exist. The next morning, I practice my speech again. But something has changed. My voice no longer wavers when I begin. I no longer start with, "I'm sorry to take your time," before making important points. I prepare a backup copy of my presentation and store it securely at my office. Eleanor sends a confirmation email with unexpected news. Speakers will receive special green wristbands limiting stage access. The evening of the gala arrives on Wednesday next week. I remove my carefully selected dress from its garment bag and freeze. There, along the seam, is a small tear, precise and deliberate, right where it would be most visible under stage lights. However, I have a backup plan. I slide the soft fabric of my backup dress over my shoulders, grateful for my foresight. The garment lacks the intricate beading of my original choice, but its clean lines and understated elegance speak of competence. Exactly what I need tonight. Better than expected, I murmur to my reflection, smoothing the burgundy material over my hips. The color deepens my complexion, making me appear more vibrant than I feel. My phone buzzes with another text from Mother. "Where are you? We're leaving in 10 minutes. I leave it unanswered, a small rebellion that makes my heart race. Instead, I call the car service I arranged yesterday. "Your driver is 5 minutes away, Dr. Marshall," the dispatcher confirms. 20 minutes later, I stand before the International Aid Foundation building, its glass facade reflecting the setting sun. Taking a deep breath, I walk through the entrance alone, my portfolio clutched to my chest like a shield. "Dr. Marshall." Eleanor hurries across the marble floor, her practical heels clicking a steady rhythm. "You're wonderfully early. Let me show you the stage setup." The auditorium stretches before us, rows of empty chairs awaiting the evening's guests. Eleanor guides me to the podium, explaining the microphone settings and lighting cues. I practice standing tall behind it, feeling its solid weight beneath my palms. "The sponsors will be seated here." She points to the front row. "And this," she hands me a green wristband, "gives you exclusive access to the preparation area and stage." Back in the green room, I review my notes one final time, highlighting key impact statements. When Eleanor returns with two distinguished-looking gentlemen, I rise to greet them. "Dr. Marshall, may I introduce Ambassador Chen and Dr. Abernathy? They've been particularly interested in your research on sustainable development." I extend my hand, surprised by the steadiness of my voice. "I'm honored you could join us tonight." 30 minutes into the pre-event reception, a commotion near the stage entrance catches my attention. Bianca stands at the security checkpoint, her voice carrying across the room. "This must be a mistake. I'm part of the presentation," she insists, trying to step past the security guard. Her blue dress, clearly chosen to complement what would have been my original outfit, sparkles under the venue lights. The guard remains unmoved. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Green wristbands only beyond this point." "But I'm the speaker's sister." Bianca's voice rises. "I'm introducing her." "That's not on our program, ma'am." Several donors turn to watch the exchange, their expressions shifting from curiosity to discomfort as Bianca's protests grow louder. Mother and father hover nearby, father making placating gestures that Bianca ignores. From across the room, I notice my boss, Dr. Wellington, observing the scene with raised eyebrows before catching my eye with a questioning look. I give a small shrug and turn away, heat crawling up my neck. As I watch my sister being escorted back to her table, I wonder, should I acknowledge the awkward moment when I take the stage, or simply proceed as if nothing happened? Would addressing it head-on clear the air, or just create more drama? The seating arrangement tells its own story. Aunt Margaret deliberately chooses a table near the front, separate from my family. She gives me a reassuring nod when our eyes meet. Dr. Reynolds, my colleague from the think tank, positions himself at a strategic angle from my family's table. He catches my eye and taps his watch, our pre-arranged signal that he'll create a distraction if needed. When the lights dim to signal the program's start, Eleanor appears at my elbow. "Ready?" she asks, offering her arm as if escorting royalty. The gesture, so simple yet so profound in its respect, nearly undoes me. For perhaps the first time in my life, someone is supporting my moment rather than trying to redirect it. "More than ready," I reply, standing taller. We move toward the stage, Eleanor's presence creating a buffer between me and any potential interruptions. As we pass the family table, Dr. Reynolds engages my father in conversation, effectively blocking any attempt to intercept us. From my vantage point, near the steps to the stage, I can see Mother's fixed smile beginning to crack around the edges. Her fingers tap an anxious rhythm on the tablecloth as she realizes she can't intervene. Beside her, Bianca shifts in her seat, uncomfortable under the curious glances from nearby attendees who witnessed her earlier scene. A few whispered comments reach my ears. Wasn't she the one security had to? The master of ceremonies approaches the podium, tapping the microphone twice. Good evening, distinguished guests. Thank you for your support of the International Aid Foundation's important work. He pauses, scanning the audience. It is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, the renowned economist, Dr. Odette Marshall. Eleanor squeezes my arm gently before releasing me. I mount the steps alone, my heart pounding but my steps steady. For once, no one walks ahead of me, no one waits to share my spotlight. I am, finally, stepping into my own light. I approach the podium with measured steps, my heels clicking against the polished stage floor. The spotlight feels warm on my face, surprisingly comforting rather than intimidating. From the corner of my eye, I catch movement Bianca rising from her seat, smoothing her emerald dress as she moves toward the stage steps. There must be some confusion. Father calls out, waving frantically at the MC. The gesture reminds me of how he'd flag down waiters when his steak wasn't cooked to his liking. Mother leans toward the couple seated beside her, her voice carrying just far enough. Both daughters are presenting tonight. Family tradition, you know. Bianca flashes that practiced smile, the one that appears on Christmas cards and family portraits a touch too bright, straining at the edges. Father stands now, gesturing with increased urgency, his program clutched in his fist like a baton. The security guide, a woman with silver-streaked hair and a clipboard, marked with green wristband protocols, steps smoothly into Bianca's path. I'm sorry, ma'am. Only authorized presenters beyond this point. Her voice carries a gentle firmness that brooks no argument. I take my place behind the podium, adjusting the microphone with steady hands. The notes I've prepared rest before me, but I barely glance at them. Months of research, years of expertise, and a lifetime of waiting for this moment converge as I look out at the expectant faces. Good evening. I begin, my voice clear and controlled. I'm Dr. Odette Marshall, and tonight I'll be sharing research on sustainable economic development in rural communities. The words flow with unexpected ease. I present complex data with clarity, walking the audience through economic principles without apology or hesitation. On the projector behind me, graphs and charts, all my own work, illustrate patterns that took months to identify. I'd like to acknowledge those who truly supported me through this research journey, I say, meeting Aunt Margaret's gaze. She sits straight-backed at her table, nodding with unmistakable pride. Eleanor Bennett, seated near the front, smiles encouragingly. Pens scratch against notepads throughout the room. Several attendees type rapidly on tablets. The CEO of Global Resources leans forward, elbows on the table, entirely focused on my analysis of resource allocation models. My research demonstrates conclusively, I continue, warming to my theme, that when we empower overlooked voices within economic systems, everyone benefits, not just those previously marginalized, but entire communities. The spotlight intensifies as I move toward my conclusion. My shadow stretches long across the stage floor, somehow larger than I remember it being. The audience sits captivated. Even the waitstaff have paused to listen. Before concluding tonight, I say, I'd like to share a personal observation about economic empowerment. I straighten my shoulders, feeling taller than I have in years. Throughout my research, I've observed that sustainable growth only occurs when individuals learn to step into their own light to claim their rightful place, rather than existing in someone else's shadow. From the family table, Bianca begins applauding prematurely, a little too enthusiastically. That's exactly what our family has always. Excuse me, interrupts a silver-haired woman I recognize as the chairperson of International Aid. I'd like to hear the rest of Dr. Marshall's analysis. Her tone is polite but firm, silencing Bianca instantly. The interruption creates a ripple of murmurs. All eyes return to me, not to my sister, not to my parents, but to me alone. My family for once becomes irrelevant background players rather than directors of my narrative. I stand taller, my voice strengthening with each word. When we create systems that validate every voice based on merit rather than privilege or connection, we don't just achieve economic balance, we restore human dignity. And dignity, I say, making eye contact with donors around the room, is the foundation upon which all sustainable futures must be built. The applause begins before my final words fade. It swells through the ballroom, thunderous and sustained. The MC returns to the stage, shaking my hand vigorously. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announces, "I'm thrilled to share that tonight's event has generated record-breaking donation pledges. Dr. Marshall's research has clearly struck a chord." As I step away from the podium, several people rise from their seats, approaching with business cards extended. I recognize the logos of international organizations I've long admired: the World Bank, United Nations Development Program, Global Economic Forum. "Dr. Marshall, we'd love to discuss implementing your resource allocation model in our Southeast Asia initiative," says one. "Your analysis on microfinance applications is exactly what our Africa program needs," adds another. Across the room, my family sits in uncharacteristic silence. Mother leans toward Bianca, whispering urgently, her hand gripping my sister's wrist. Bianca's expression registers something I've never seen there before, not anger or jealousy, but genuine shock, as though witnessing something she'd believed impossible. For the first time in my life, I feel no urge to check their reactions or seek their approval. The spotlight is exactly where it belongs. The morning sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows as I stand at the podium, surveying the crowded conference room of the International Economic Summit. 6 months have passed since the gala, and here I am, not just participating, but leading the discussion on sustainable development frameworks. Before we break for lunch, I'd like to introduce Dr. Helena Rivera, whose groundbreaking research on agricultural economics complements our morning session, I announce, my voice carrying confidently to the back of the room without the microphone amplification I once relied on. The words flow naturally now, without the preparatory throat-clearing or apologetic preambles that once punctuated my speech. When a question comes from the back about conflicting datasets, I don't hesitate or glance around for support. That discrepancy actually highlights a critical point about methodology, I respond, stepping away from the podium to engage directly. The room leans forward collectively, notepads ready. Even Ambassador Thornton, notorious for his skepticism, nods with grudging approval. My colleagues no longer preface my introductions with qualifiers like, "though she's rather quiet," or "despite her reserved nature." Now they simply defer to my expertise with phrases like, "as Dr. Marshall established in her recent publication," or "following Odette's framework." The transformation isn't just in how they see me, but in how I occupy space, shoulders back, eyes level, voice steady. Later that evening, I find myself back at my parents' dining room table, the scene of countless diminishments. The setting is eerily similar to that night 6 months ago: mother's polished silverware, father's crystal glasses, Bianca seated in her usual place of prominence. "So this conference in Stockholm," father begins, cutting into his steak. "Will you be presenting alone or as part of a panel?" "Solo presentation, followed by a roundtable discussion," I answer, noticing how my appetite remains steady, unlike previous family dinners when anxiety would knot my stomach. Bianca's fork pauses halfway to her mouth. "You know, I've been reading about effective presentation techniques. I could help you prepare some audience engagement strategies." "Thank you, but I've got this covered," I say calmly, taking a sip of water. The words hang in the air between us. My parents exchange glances but say nothing. The silence feels different from the tense disapproval of the past. There's something like respect in their restraint, however reluctant. The following weekend brings a small gathering at Aunt Margaret's garden apartment. Eleanor Bennett has brought champagne, and Dr. Reynolds arrives with an elaborate charcuterie board. The conversation flows easily, untainted by competition or undermining. "To finding your voice," Aunt Margaret announces, raising her glass as sunset paints the room golden, "and those who actually listen." End quote. She presents me with a small package. Inside is a framed photograph of me at the gala podium, captured in profile as I gesture to explain a complex concept. The audience faces me, fully engaged. The silver frame bears a small engraved plate, "Your Spotlight." Back in my office a week later, I review the invitation that arrived this morning. The World Economic Forum wants me to deliver a keynote address on sustainable growth models. The walls around me now display framed awards and recognitions earned over the past 6 months. My calendar has transformed from the carefully blank expanses I once maintained to accommodate family expectations into a colorful tapestry of speaking engagements, consultations, and research presentations. My phone buzzes on the desk, Mother's name appears on the screen. She's called 3 times this week, each conversation slightly less awkward than the last. This time, she asks, tentatively, if they might attend my presentation at next month's local business forum. As I look at my mother's name on my phone screen, I wonder if family relationships can truly evolve or if some boundaries must remain permanent. Is it possible to forgive those who diminished you for years without allowing them to do it again, or is maintaining distance the only way to preserve your hard-won confidence? I sit at the edge of my parents' polished oak table, smoothing the wrinkles from my simple black dress. The fabric cost more than I should have spent, but tonight, I needed the armor of dignity. Around me, crystal glasses catch light from the chandelier, as my father fills them with wine that probably cost what I spend on groceries for a week. To Sam's incredible win, Dad raises his glass, beaming at my sister. Youngest attorney in the firm's history to win a case of this magnitude. My mother reaches across the table to squeeze Sam's hand. We always knew you were destined for greatness. Sam glows under their attention, her perfectly highlighted hair falling just so as she modestly lowers her eyes. It was just good preparation, really. And natural talent, Mom adds quickly. Don't downplay your gifts. I take a small sip of water, gathering courage. The article I read about the case mentioned how you connected with the jury. That emotional intelligence is so valuable in... Did you tell them about the judge's comments? Dad interrupts, not even glancing my way. Samantha, tell them what he said afterward. My words evaporate like morning dew. I've been here a dozen times before this familiar ritual where Sam shines while I fade into the wallpaper. I focus on my breathing, on the weight of the fork in my hand, anything to ground myself as the conversation flows around me. Kylie, pass the potatoes, Mom says, the first time she's addressed me directly in 20 minutes. I comply, then venture another attempt. My department is implementing a new compliance system that I helped design. Did I mention Sam's firm is considering her for a junior partner? Mom cuts in, her voice lifting with pride. At 32, can you imagine? My throat tightens. I'm 29, 3 years younger than my brilliant sister, but somehow, I'm always decades behind in their eyes. Mom turns to me suddenly with that look, the one that precedes her helpful suggestions about my life. You know, if you'd finished that MBA instead of just your bachelor's, you might be further along by now. The MBA I postponed when they called sobbing about the foreclosure notice. The degree that's still sitting in the someday file while my savings account empties month after month. I'm doing fine, I manage. Mom sighs, exchanging glances with Dad. Fine isn't exceptional though, is it? She sets down her fork with precision. Honestly, Kylie, you're not even half the woman your sister is. The dining room goes silent. Even the antique clock on the mantel seems to pause its ticking. My hand trembles around my water glass, ripples forming on the surface. I can hear my heartbeat in my ears, feel heat crawling up my neck. The words slam into me like a physical blow, stealing my breath. The clock resumes its steady rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. In that moment, something shifts inside me. 4 years of silence, 4 years of sacrifice, 4 years of invisibility. Then let her pay the mortgage for this house, I say quietly. The words hang in the air like smoke. Dad's fork clatters against his plate. Mortgage? What mortgage? Sam's champagne glass freezes halfway to her lips, her expression suddenly uncertain. Mom's face drains of color so quickly I worry she might faint. Kylie, this is hardly dinner conversation. Who wants dessert? I made your favorite apple. No. The strength in my voice surprises even me. I pull my phone from my purse, fingers trembling as I open my banking app. What are you talking about? Dad blusters, his confident facade cracking slightly. We refinanced years ago. I scroll through my transaction history, finding the first payment from 4 years ago. I turn the screen toward them. February 15th, 2021. $2,500 to prevent foreclosure. Just this once, you said. Mom stands abruptly. This is ridiculous. I'm getting dessert. March, April, May. I continued, scrolling through the evidence. Every month for 4 years, between $1,200 and $2,400, depending on what crisis came up. Clyde. Dad's face hardens. We've had some temporary setbacks in the business. You know that. Temporary? 4 years isn't temporary. I turn to Sam, whose confusion is morphing into horror. Did you know? Did you know that while you were buying your condo and getting promotions, I was keeping our parents from losing their house? Sam slowly shakes her head. They told me they were helping you financially, that you were struggling. A bitter laugh escapes me. Is that what they told you? A daughter supports her family, Mom says tearfully, returning without dessert. That's how we raised you. Family comes first, always. Family comes first, I repeat hollowly. But I'm not really family, am I? I'm an ATM. The backup plan, the safety net you never acknowledge. The realization washes over me with startling clarity. All those years of trying to measure up, of accepting less, of making myself smaller to fit into the box they'd built for me, and for what? So they could drain me dry while praising my sister for achievements that my sacrifice helped make possible? Sam sets down her glass carefully. How much, Kylie? Total? I meet her eyes directly. $84,000. Dad chokes on his wine. That's preposterous. But his protest lacks conviction. He knows. They all know now. My down payment for a home, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. My MBA, my future. The dining room falls silent again. But this time, the silence feels different. Heavy with truth. With secrets exposed to oxygen for the first time. And somewhere beneath the anger and hurt, I feel something else unfurling. Freedom. Back at my apartment that night, memories flash back as lightning. The phone rings at 11:37 on a Tuesday night. I nearly ignored it, already half asleep under my IKEA comforter in my rented one-bedroom, but something intuition or anxiety makes me reach for it. Kylie? Mom's voice breaks on my name, thick with tears. I didn't know who else to call. I sit up, suddenly wide awake. What's wrong? Is someone hurt? The house. A muffled sob. We're going to lose the house. We're going to lose the house. The next minutes blur as she explains through hiccuping breaths about missed mortgage payments, about Dad's struggling architectural firm, about the foreclosure notice that arrived today. Words like 30 days and auction steps punctuate her sobs. How much? I ask, already opening my laptop, navigating to my bank account. The screen glows harshly in my dark bedroom, illuminating the savings I've accumulated over 3 years of overtime and brown bag lunches. My down payment fund for a modest Denver condo, $2,500, she whispers, just to stop the foreclosure process. Charles swears the Brewster contract is coming through next month. She pauses. Honey, I wouldn't ask, but we have nowhere else to turn. My cursor hovers over the transfer button. The colonial-style house on Maple Street has been their home for 30 years. My childhood bedroom with the window seat. The oak tree I fell from at 8, breaking my arm. The dining room, where we gathered every Sunday for pot roast and potatoes. Just this once. Mom promises. Your father is mortified that I even called you. We'll pay you back the minute his commission clears. My finger clicks the mouse. $2,500 vanishes from my account, numbers shifting downward like an elevator in free fall. Thank you, sweetheart. Mom says, relief washing her voice clean of tears. We raised such a good girl. Dad gets on the phone briefly. Won't happen again, Kylie Bear. Just a tough month. His voice carries the forced heartiness I recognize from childhood. Disappointments, promised trips to the zoo canceled, Christmas bikes that never materialized. I stare at my account balance long after we hang up. The hollowness in my stomach has nothing to do with hunger. Just this once. 3 weeks later, Mom calls again. The bank made a mistake with the payment processing. Her voice carries a different note now, less desperate, more expectant. Just $1,200 this time. I transfer the money. A month passes. Your father's client is late paying, but the business will bounce back. Another transfer. By the 6th month, I've stopped waiting for the explanations to change. I've stopped expecting repayment. I set up an automatic transfer $1,500 monthly, directly to their mortgage company. It's easier than the phone calls, the tearful gratitude, the promises. My email notification pings on a Wednesday afternoon at work. Denver downtown condo development, pre-sale opportunity. I open it during my lunch break. Scrolling through images of the exact starter home I've been saving for walking distance to work, in my price range, available with just 10% down. I check my savings account. After 6 months of transfers, I'm back where I started 3 years ago. The condo units sell out in 48 hours. That night, I deferred my MBA program acceptance for the second time. Financial circumstances. I write on the form. The university will hold my spot for 1 more year, they tell me. After that, I'll need to reapply. I created a spreadsheet. Columns for dates, amounts, running total. A separate tab for opportunities declined. Condo, education, the trip to Spain for my college roommate's wedding. My stomach clenches as the numbers grow. 6 months becomes a year. A year becomes 2. On my lunch break, I microwave ramen noodles in the office kitchen. My phone buzzes with an Instagram notification. Mom at Marcello's, the upscale Italian place downtown, captioned anniversary dinner. Blessed. Dad's new golf clubs lean against their dining room wall in the background of another photo the following week. Can't make it this weekend. I text my friends who are planning a short camping trip. Tight on cash this month, the third such excuse this summer. They stop asking eventually. The credit card application rejection arrives via email. Insufficient credit history and current income to debt ratio does not meet our requirements. The same day, Sam posts photos of her condo closing. Homeowner at last. Adulting. The comments overflow with family congratulations. Your sister always had such a good head on her shoulders. Mom tells me at Easter dinner, while I sit quietly, calculating how many more months of payments until I can restart my MBA fund. Financial independence is a sign of maturity. I nod, swallowing both the irony and the instant mashed potatoes. At the office holiday party, Jessica from accounting slides into the chair beside me. You okay? You've been brown bagging it for months. Her eyes, kind behind tortoiseshell glasses, hold genuine concern rather than pity. Just saving, I say, the lie automatic by now. She studies me over her glass of cheap Chardonnay. For what exactly? Because you never actually seem to buy anything. Something in her direct gaze breaks through my practiced deflections. Over after-work coffee that turns into dinner, the story spills out 4 years, $84,000, the endless cycle of obligation. Jessica sets down her mug with a decisive click against the table. Kylie, you can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. They're my parents, I say, but the words lack conviction. And you're their daughter, not their bank. She pulls a napkin toward her, uncaps a pen. Let's do some math. We calculate the true cost. Not just dollars, but compound interest lost, career advancement delayed, retirement contributions missed. The final sum makes my hands shake. They wouldn't understand, I whisper. Maybe not, Jessica agrees. But do you understand what you're giving up? That night, I stare at my bank app, thumb hovering over the automatic transfer. 4 years. $84,000. My finger trembles, not yet ready to press cancel, but for the first time, I can imagine doing so. Just this once, I think. I could skip just this once. See if they notice. See if they care. I press my thumb against the cool glass of my phone screen and close my eyes. When I open them, the transfer confirmation stares back at me. 1 more month of setting myself on fire. But something has shifted. In the reflection of my darkened phone screen, I catch a glimpse of determination in my own eyes that wasn't there before. As I didn't sleep after this terrible dinner, the bank app glows on my phone screen at 5:48 a.m. on Monday morning. I haven't slept. My thumb hovers over the cancel automatic transfer button as sunlight begins to peek through my apartment blinds. For 4 years, I've transferred between $1,200 and $2,400 each month to my parents' account, money that should have built my future. $84,000. A down payment on a Denver condo when prices were reasonable. The MBA, I kept deferring. A retirement fund with years of compound interest. All sacrificed to pay a mortgage that wasn't mine, for a house I don't live in, owned by people who last night said I wasn't even half the woman my sister islanded. My finger trembles as I press the button. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring transfer? Am I? I press confirm. My stomach lurches like I've jumped from a diving board, but instead of water, I'm falling into freedom. The sensation is so foreign, I nearly reach for the trash can beside my bed. But beneath the nausea, something else blooms, relief so profound my body sags against the headboard. For the first time in 4 years, my next paycheck belongs entirely to me. The first call comes before I've finished my morning coffee. Dad's name flashes on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. Kylie. His voice is granite and gravel. What you did last night was inexcusable. We've supported you your entire life, and this is how you repay us? By abandoning your family when we need you most? Call me back. Immediately. I delete the message and block his number. By noon, Mom has left 4 messages, each more tearful than the last. By 3 p.m., I've blocked her too. Sam texts, "They say you're punishing them. What's happening? They won't stop calling me." I type back, "Ask them about the mortgage payments I've been making for 4 years." 3 dots appear, disappear, reappear. Finally, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea." The doorbell rings at 6:14 p.m. Through the peephole, I see my mother clutching a photo album to her chest. I press my forehead against the door, willing her to leave. "Kylie, honey, I know you're in there." Her voice carries through the wood. "I brought pictures from when you were little. Remember how we were always there for you? Remember your first ballet recital when you fell and your father carried you off stage? What I remember is working 3 jobs in college while Sam's tuition was paid in full. What I remember is postponing grad school to help with their temporary financial setback that somehow lasted 4 years." I don't open the door. By morning, "My aunt in Phoenix has called to express concern about your poor parents. My uncle in Michigan emails about family responsibility. Cousins I haven't spoken to in years suddenly need to check on me." The family mobilization is impressive in its coordination. "They're good," Jessica says over coffee at the shop across from our office. She's the first friend I've confided in about the full situation. I've got to hand it to them, they've got the flying monkeys out in force. Flying monkeys? From Wizard of Oz. The Wicked Witch sends them to do her dirty work. She stirs her latte. It's a classic manipulation tactic. When the direct approach fails, enlist others to apply pressure. I've known Jessica for 3 years, but at this moment, she feels like the first person who's truly seen me. "I made an appointment with a financial advisor," I told her. "Tomorrow morning." She reaches across the table to squeeze my hand. "I'm proud of you." The financial advisor's office smells like leather and lemon polish the next day. Martha adjusts her glasses as she reviews my statements. $84,000 over 4 years. She sets down her tablet. "And they never disclosed this to your sister or acknowledged it publicly?" "No." "And you had no legal obligation to pay their mortgage?" "No." "Then what you've experienced is financial exploitation." She leans forward, voice firm. "Family exploitation is still exploitation, Kylie." Hearing someone in authority name it sends a shiver down my spine. I've been exploited. Not helped, not supported, my family exploited. "Let's make a personal budget," Martha says, "one that prioritizes your future." When she shows me the projection of where I could be in 5 years without the drain of my parents' mortgage, tears spring to my eyes. College funds for future children. Retirement contributions that actually match my company's offering. A down payment fund that grows instead of depleting monthly. This is what financial health looks like, Martha says gently. The next morning, I opened my first investment account with the $1,400 I would have transferred to my parents. The act feels like planting a flag on distant territory. This money is mine. This future is mine. That afternoon, I enrolled in the graduate course I've deferred for 7 consecutive semesters. "Welcome back, Miss Anderson," the admissions counselor says. "We've held your spot." 3 weeks have passed. The calls from extended family taper off. Sam texts occasionally careful, neutral messages that skirt the edge of our family's new reality. My parents alternate between radio silence and escalating attempts at contact. I've rehearsed what I'll say when I finally speak to them. Jessica helps me craft the script, and I practice in front of my bathroom mirror. "I love you, but your mortgage is not my responsibility." Simple, direct, unassailable. The knock comes on a Sunday evening, as I'm reviewing case studies for my first graduate class. No peephole check is necessary. I know who it is by the cadence of the knock, 3 sharp raps. My father's signature. I open the door to find both parents standing in the hallway. Mom's eyes are red-rimmed. Dad's jaw is set in the rigid line that always preceded childhood punishments. "This has gone on long enough," he says, pushing past me into the apartment. "You've made your point." My mother follows, her hand reaching for mine. I step back. "Your behavior is destroying this family," Dad continues, pacing my small living room. "Do you have any idea what people are saying? Your Aunt Margaret asked if you were having some kind of breakdown." "Charles," Mom murmurs, a caution in her voice. "No, Elaine, she needs to hear this." He turns to face me. "You've embarrassed us." You've created a family crisis over a little financial help that any daughter would provide without question. $84,000 is not a little help, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. You're killing me with this betrayal, Mom whispers, tears spilling down her cheeks. After everything we've done for you. The rehearsed script evaporates. In its place rises something raw and real and entirely mine. I love you both, I say. But your mortgage is not my responsibility. It never was. My father's face flushes crimson. So that's it? You're just abandoning us? I'm not abandoning you. I'm stopping the abandonment of myself. The words hang in the air between us, undeniable in their truth. They leave 7 minutes later, my mother sobbing, my father rigid with fury. As the door closes behind them, my knees give way. I slide to the floor, tears streaming down my face, my body shaking with sobs that feel ripped from somewhere primal. But beneath the grief runs a current of something unexpected lightness. As if heavy stones have been lifted from my pockets after years of carrying their weight. That night, I slept 8 uninterrupted hours for the first time in 4 years. When morning comes, I stand at my window watching the sun illuminate the city. Denver spreads before me, familiar yet somehow new, a landscape of possibility rather than obligation. For the first time since that late-night call 4 years ago when my parents' desperation became my burden, I feel the contours of my own life taking shape. I am not half of anyone, I am whole. I wake up to sunlight streaming through curtains I actually chose. 6 months ago, I'd have been checking my bank app first thing, calculating how much I could spend on coffee after the automatic transfer to my parents' account cleared. Today, I stretch luxuriously and smile at the ceiling. My ceiling, my rules, my money. The promotion notification had appeared in my inbox yesterday afternoon. Project team lead. The words still don't feel real. Your dedication and analytical skills make you the perfect candidate, my boss had said, actually looking me in the eye. The whole department recognizes your contributions, Kylie. If they're ba and diddy. Recognition. The word settles in my chest like a warm stone. I pull on running shoes and head out for my morning jog, nodding to Mrs. Winters walking her corgi. She waves enthusiastically. Big day for your Italian cooking class, right? The final dinner. Lasagna from scratch, I called back. I'll bring you leftovers. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have known my neighbor's name, wouldn't have signed up for community center classes, wouldn't have had the money for ingredients beyond ramen and peanut butter. My phone buzzes in my pocket, Jessica from work. The hiking group's meeting at Boulder Creek Saturday, she says when I answer. You in? Absolutely, I reply, thinking of the new boots I bought myself last month. The Rockies have become my sanctuary, the vastness putting my family drama into perspective. Last weekend, I stood on a summit and screamed into the wind until my throat burned and something inside me loosened. When I return to my apartment, there's an envelope in my mailbox. Thick, official looking. I open it standing right there in the lobby, my heart hammering as I unfold the letter. Dear Miss Anderson, we are pleased to inform you of your acceptance. I press the letter to my chest, vision blurring. Graduate program. The one I deferred 4 years ago when that first desperate call came from my parents. My phone rings again. My Aunt Gloria this time. Your father asked me to call you, she begins, her voice apologetic. He says the doctor is worried about his blood pressure, the stress of possible foreclosure. The mortgage is current through next month, I interrupt, having checked their account status online. I'm sorry about his health concerns, but I can't help anymore. Aunt Gloria sighs. He mentioned there might be some misunderstanding about family obligations. No misunderstanding, I say firmly. I love you, Aunt Gloria. Tell Dad I wish him well. I hung up and checked Facebook. Mom's latest post appears at the top of my feed. Heartbroken, when children abandon parents who sacrificed everything for them. Family should be forever. 17 sympathetic comments from relatives who don't know the whole story. I close the app without responding and turn to my email. Sam has sent a tentative message. They're saying some worrying things about money. Are they really facing foreclosure? I'm confused about what's happening. I type back. They have options they're unwilling to consider. I'm happy to explain everything if you want to hear my side. Before I can overthink it, I send the email and head to the shower. Work awaits, and today I'm leading the morning briefing on our new compliance system, my system, the one I designed. The meeting room falls silent when I walk in. 6 months ago, I'd have assumed it was dismissal. Today, I recognize respect. The implementation numbers are impressive, says Thomas, our director. Kylie's design has reduced processing time by 32%. My colleagues applaud. Not polite golf claps, but genuine appreciation. I stand straighter and begin my presentation with confidence I'd never have recognized in myself before. That afternoon, my desk phone rings with an unfamiliar number. Kylie Anderson? This is Marissa Johnson, with Parker Executive Search. I'm calling about a director position in Seattle. I nearly dropped the phone. I'm sorry? Your name was recommended by someone who was very impressed with your compliance system design. The position is with Westlake Financial Technologies. Would you be interested in discussing it? My mouth goes dry. Seattle? 45% salary increase from your current position, plus equity. I scribble the number on a post-it, promise to call back, and sit stunned at my desk. Seattle. 3 states away from the magnetic pull of familial obligation. A director position leapfrogging 2 management levels. That evening, I opened my laptop and requested a virtual tour of apartments in Seattle. The realtor shows me a 14th floor unit, with floor-to-ceiling windows. The Space Needle gleams in the distance. What's the price range? I ask cautiously. She names a figure that, 6 months ago, would have been impossible. But now, with no mortgage payments draining my account, I pull up a spreadsheet and calculate quickly. 2 years of the offered Seattle salary would equal 4 years of what I'd paid toward my parents' mortgage. The phone rings. Sam, I talked to Dad, she says. He admitted everything. 4 years of you paying their mortgage while they told me you were struggling and they were helping you. Her voice breaks. They took advantage of you, Kylie. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. Something shifts inside me, the last piece of a puzzle clicking into place. It's not your fault. Are you really considering Seattle? She asks. Mom and Dad heard through the grapevine. They're furious you didn't tell them first. I laugh softly. Seattle feels right. I'm ready for something bigger than myself. That weekend, I began packing my Denver apartment. Each item goes through a simple test. Does this serve my future, or anchor me to the past? The pile for donation grows larger than the pile to keep. My phone pings with a text from the Seattle company. The contract is ready for electronic signature. Benefits begin on day 1. Relocation assistance included. I look around my half-packed apartment, at the graduate program acceptance letter on my fridge, at the hiking boots by the door. For the first time in my adult life, everything I own represents choices I made for myself. I signed the contract. A month after signing the contract, I stand at the panoramic window of my Seattle condo, watching dawn paint Mount Rainier in hues of amber and rose. 14 floors above the city, I've built a life where I matter, where my voice carries weight. My phone buzzes on the granite countertop. Another text from Mom about how they're managing without my support. I ignore it, sipping coffee that costs more than I would have allowed myself in Denver. Small luxuries no longer trigger guilt. The second buzz isn't from my parents. It's Grace, my former neighbor in Denver. Thought you should see this. Sorry. I tap the attachment. The image loads slowly, pixel by pixel, as if my phone is trying to protect me from what it contains. A vinyl banner stretches across my parents' Tudor-style facade. Bold red letters against white. Congratulations, Sam, for saving the family home. My coffee cup hits the hardwood with a crash. Hot liquid splashes my bare feet, but I barely register the burn. My lungs compress as if squeezed by invisible hands. 4 years, I whisper to the empty room. $84,000. I sink to the floor, ceramic shards pressing into my palms. Not from weakness this time. From rage so pure it requires anchoring to the physical world. They've erased me. Again. But worse, they've rewritten history entirely. When my breathing steadies, I retrieve my laptop and open my banking app. 4 years of statements. 4 years of transfer confirmations. Texts from Mom with variations of just this once and we'll pay you back soon. I find the email folder labeled family and extract every desperate plea. Dad's business failures. Mom's medical bills that insurance inexplicably rejected. The roof. The plumbing. The property taxes they forgot were due. The printer hums as I create a paper trail of their deception. While it works, I forward each piece of evidence to my personal email, then to a separate account I've created solely for this purpose. Digital receipts of years of manipulation. My phone rings. Sam's name flashes on the screen. Have you seen it? She asks, without preamble. The banner? Yes. Kylie, I swear I had nothing to do with this. They told everyone at church that I've been making their mortgage payments since you abandoned them. I laugh, a hollow sound that bounces off the walls of my expensive condo. Of course they did. There's more, Sam continues, her voice dropping. They're hosting a family appreciation dinner next weekend, to honor my sacrifice. The formal invitation arrived in my email that afternoon. Cream-colored electronic stationery with flowing script. Join us in celebrating Samantha's selfless dedication to family values. Mom's voicemail follows. We hope you can set aside our differences to celebrate your sister. Family should support each other in times of recognition. Family should support each other in times of recognition. I trace my finger over the date. Next Saturday. I could book a flight. I should book a flight. I dial Jessica, my former coworker who first helped me see the patterns. They're crediting Sam with paying their mortgage. I tell her, my voice surprisingly steady. They're throwing her a party for something I did for 4 years. Jessica's silence speaks volumes before she responds. What are you going to do? I'm going to Denver. To confront them? No, I say, clicking open my laptop. To tell the truth. Saturday evening, I stand on the familiar porch. Inside, voices mingle with classical music. Dad's carefully curated playlist of impressiveness. I'm wearing a tailored charcoal suit that cost more than I would have spent on 3 months of clothes in my old life. Power armor. The folder under my arm contains every record, printed in duplicate. My laptop bag holds a flash drive with a presentation I've prepared with meticulous detail. Sam opens the door before I knock. You came, she whispers, eyes wide. Did you think I wouldn't? She steps aside, revealing the living room transformed for the occasion. Flowers I know they can't afford, catering from the expensive place downtown. A projector screen displaying a slideshow titled, The Anderson Family Legacy of Support. My mother spots me first, her champagne glass halts midway to her lips. Kylie, what a surprise. Her voice carries that artificial brightness reserved for uncomfortable public situations. We weren't sure if you'd make it, with your busy new life. Dad turns, his practiced smile faltering when he sees my expression. Pumpkin, come in, come in. We're just about to toast your sister's incredible generosity. The room falls quiet as I walk toward the projector. Aunts, uncles, cousins, church friends all watching as I set down my folder on the side table. May I add something to the presentation? I ask, my voice carrying across the silent room. Dad hesitates, then nods with the confidence of someone who believes they control the narrative. Of course, of course. Our younger daughter wants to honor her sister too, how wonderful. I connect my laptop to the projector cable, replacing their slideshow with my own. The title slide appears. 48 months, $84,000, Kylie. What's this? Mom asks, her voice sharp. The truth. I answered simply. The first slide displays a spreadsheet. Dates, amounts, account numbers partially redacted. Transaction descriptions that tell their own story. Emergency transfer to parents. Mortgage payment. Property tax payment. Insurance premium. I don't think this is appropriate dinner conversation. Mom interjects, moving toward the projector. Neither is lying to your entire social circle. I counter, clicking to the next slide. Text messages appear, enlarged for everyone to see. Mom, Kylie, we're desperate. Just this once. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Mom, your father's business will recover soon. Just help us through this month. Mom, family comes first, always. We'd do the same for you. Murmurs ripple through the gathered guests. Aunt Martha's hand covers her mouth. Uncle Pete shifts uncomfortably in his seat. You're publicly humiliating us, Dad hisses, his face flushed crimson. I meet his gaze steadily. If the truth embarrasses you, that is not my fault. The next slide contrasts Dad's business expense reports with their credit card statements, golf club memberships, weekend getaways, restaurant bills exceeding what I spent on groceries in a month. Stop this immediately, Mom demands, her voice cracking. But I continue, slide by slide, building the case that I've subsidized their lifestyle while they showcased Sam as the successful daughter and dismissed my contributions. Sam stands frozen, horror dawning on her face as she comprehends the scale of deception, not just against me, but against her too. Used as their golden child while I was used as their ATM. When the final slide appears, the banner photo with the truth superimposed across it, the room has fallen into stunned silence. $84,000. I say quietly. My down payment, my MBA, my future. Aunt Judith, Dad's eldest sister, rises slowly from her seat by the fireplace. For a moment, I think she'll defend them, she always has. Instead, she begins to applaud. Slow, deliberate claps that echo in the silence. It's about time someone told the truth in this family, she says, her voice carrying the weight of decades. Two of my cousins nod, recognition in their eyes. The family patterns aren't new, just finally exposed. Mom attempts one last deflection. Family matters should stay private, Kylie. This is inappropriate. Private like the banner on your house? I ask. Sam moves then, crossing the room to stand beside me. She doesn't speak, doesn't need to. Her presence next to me says everything. For the first time in our lives, we face our parents as a united front, the golden child and the invisible one, standing together in truth. And in that moment, I feel the last chains of obligation finally break free. 6 months after the confrontation, the Seattle morning light streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating my face as I stir honey into my tea. Sam sits across from me at the corner cafe, her lawyer posture relaxed for once, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail instead of her usual perfect blowout. I still can't believe they showed up here with papers to add your name to the deed, Sam says, shaking her head. After everything. I smile, watching ferry boats cross Elliott Bay. Their version of an apology, I suppose. And you turned it down. Not a question, but a statement of respect. I already own my own home. I tell her, gesturing toward the gleaming high-rise visible from our window. What I need is respect, not a name on paper. 6 months since the truth shattered our family's foundation. 6 months of rebuilding not what was, but something new. Something honest. My phone buzzes with an industry newsletter notification. Anderson Team wins Innovation Award for Compliance Solution. My team, my leadership. Sam notices my smile. Another win? I show her the screen. Vice President sounds good before my name, doesn't it? Better than mortgage payer in secret. She reaches across the table, squeezes my hand. You're speaking at that finance conference next month, right? Ethical leadership panel. I laugh at the irony. Apparently standing up to financial exploitation qualifies me as an expert. Later that evening, I lace up hiking boots as 3 friends wait by the door. No elaborate excuses about tight budgets. No calculating whether I can afford gas. Just 4 women heading to Mount Rainier because the wildflowers are blooming. Rachel asked about you again, Tina says as we drive, wiggling her eyebrows suggestively. The architect? Heat crawls up my neck that has nothing to do with embarrassment and everything to do with possibility. Dating without financial anxiety feels like breathing new air. On Tuesday, I stood before 20 young women at the community center's financial literacy workshop. Boundaries aren't selfish. I tell them, my voice steady with conviction earned through fire. They're the foundation of authentic relationships. A girl in the back row asks, but what if it's family? Especially then, I answered, meeting her eyes directly. When Sam returns in August, we cook pasta in my kitchen, tomato sauce bubbling as Frank Sinatra plays. Mom would have hovered, critiquing our technique. Tonight, there's only laughter as Sam spills wine on my countertop. Remember when Mom would measure the pasta portions? Sam asks, twirling noodles onto her fork. 2 ounces for you, 3 for Dad, 1 for me because actresses need to stay slim. And now look at us. I gesture to our heaping plates, rebels with carbs. We talk late into the night, about childhood patterns we never questioned, about adult choices we're now making differently. I've been thinking about taking a real vacation, Sam says, not a networking opportunity disguised as relaxation, just joy. Where would you go? I ask. She corrects. Where would we go? Sisters only. My throat tightens unexpectedly. A year later, I opened a new account, seed money for my niece's education. Not from obligation, but from choice. At the community center, my financial boundaries workshop has doubled in size. Setting limits isn't about rejecting others, I explain. It's about honoring yourself enough to bring your whole, healthy self to relationships. In my journal, I write, Year 1 of my authentic life at the top of a fresh page. Below it, not accomplishments or goals, but truths. That worth isn't measured in sacrifice. That love without respect is just used. That starting over at 30 isn't failure, it's courage. Evening finds me on my balcony, watching sunset paint the Olympic mountains gold, then purple, then blue. No phone buzzing with financial emergencies. No mental calculations of what remains in my account. Just this moment. Just me. Finally home in my own life.